Ask anyone in Barcelona what characteristic sums up the people of the city, and the answer will be sen. That's Catalan for common sense. Yet the people of Barcelona are capable of the most inspired flights of fantasy. It's what makes this Spanish city a place of surprises. The great artery of Barcelona is the Ramblas, the avenue which runs for 1.5 miles from the city center to the harbor. The boulevard follows the course of an old river, and each section has a different name and character. There's never a time when the Ramblas isn't busy, packed as it is with shops, restaurants, cafes, street stalls, and newsstands. They say no day is complete without a stroll down the Ramblas. In a way, it's one huge theme park, and the theme is people. The poet Garcia Lorca summed it all up. "I wish it would never end," he said. The Ramblas is pure street theater, with a walk-on part for everyone. Barcelona is one of the world's most tolerant cities, the Paris of Spain, but fiercely independent. The Catalan language was once banned. Now more people speak it than ever. The tidal flow of people never ceases, except for one traditional stop. They say that if you drink from the Canaletas fountain, you'll always return to Barcelona. The rhythm of the crowd changes hour by hour. Early in the morning, everyone seems to be going in one direction, to the Boqueria market. This glass-covered market has been feeding Barcelona since 1836. Stalls heaped with the abundance of the south are like a huge still-life painting. And there's an early morning cafe for late-night revelers on their way home. Continue walking towards the sea, and the city begins to grow older. Built in 1859, the Plaza Real has been described as the most Italian square outside Italy. Once badly run down, it has been given a facelift, and once more the crowds gather under its palms and colonnades. The twirly lamps were designed by the young Gaudi. Remember the name, you'll hear it again. This 200-foot statue of Christopher Columbus was built for the 1888 World Fair, an event which put the city into debt for 10 years. Columbus returned to Barcelona in 1493, bringing with him the first Native Americans to be seen in Spain. They were baptized in the cathedral before an astonished crowd. Even today, Columbus would have recognized Barcelona's medieval shipyard, which has survived almost unchanged since the 14th century. It now houses the Maritime Museum. The most stunning exhibit is a replica of the flagship in which Don Juan of Austria destroyed the Turkish fleet in 1571. These were the ships that once made Barcelona the most powerful city in the Mediterranean, ruling over the Balearics, Sardinia, Malta, Corsica, and Sicily. The paved star in the Plaza de Catalunya once marked the exact center of the city. The young people, and Barcelona is a youthful city, have made it their place for meeting and mingling. Gathered round the cathedral, in the city's Gothic quarter, is a most concentrated collection of 13th to 15th century buildings in Europe. No, it's not flamenco. Catalonia's national dance is the sardana. Dancers frequently gather in front of the old cathedral, though the sardana is danced everywhere, often spontaneously and with total unself-consciousness. Just join the circle and watch the feet of the person next to you. The Plaza del Rey hasn't changed much since it was the site of the medieval grain market, but it has a darker hidden side. The Spanish Inquisition tried its victims under the rainbow arches of the Saló del Tinel. The Gothic Quarter is an architectural textbook written in stone. But like everywhere else in Barcelona, its corners are softened by the ebb and flow of people. It's a favorite place for artists to brush up on their technique. And in the regular open-air exhibitions, you can easily buy a picture of the area, the paint on the canvas still wet. Cafe tables spread out under the trees on the Plaza del Pi are dwarfed by the Church of Santa Maria with its immense rose window. Ceramic plaques point you to the busy shopping area around the Carrer de Petrasol. This is no place for Weight Watchers. The shops may display everything for the slim and the stylish, but it's a losing battle against a street famous for cafes that serve rich, hot chocolate with mountainous dollops of cream. The civic heart of Barcelona is the Plaza de Sant Jaime, ringed by suitably imposing official buildings. Step inside, and you get a vivid insight into the wealth, pride, and status of the city. But no amount of decorative excess quite prepares you for the Cathedral de la Sagrada Familia. The cathedral is the crowning vision of the modernist architect Antonio Gaudí, an eccentric genius who lived like a pauper in a shack on the site. This is Art Nouveau run riot. Gaudí sold all his property to help with the cost, and in the end, was reduced to begging from friends. Work still continues thanks to Japanese contributions, but it's an uphill task, for Gaudí was killed by a streetcar in 1926, and the plans were locked in his head. Gaudí also designed the Güell Park, originally intended as a garden village. Another Catalan artist, Joan Miró, has a park all to himself, displaying sculptures in his unmistakable style, colorful, fantastic, and curiously childlike. Montjuic Hill, transformed into a park for the 1929 World Trade Fair, is a vast museum and leisure complex. If you're a VIP, you could be invited to stay at the Albanese Palace. Cable cars and funiculars crisscross the city, climbing the hills and swooping down to the harbor. Or if you prefer swooping downwards without a cable car, there's Montjuic Castle, whose walls attract hang gliding enthusiasts. Miró, who died in 1983, was Spain's best-loved artist. An entire museum is devoted to his exuberant work. Miró relished his popularity and even designed posters for the 1982 Soccer World Cup. In Barcelona, soccer has almost been elevated to a religion. Museums and galleries are often spectacular buildings in their own right. The Palau Nacional, also on Montjuic Hill, houses a museum of Catalan art. Among the exhibits are Romanesque murals, peeled off the walls of remote country churches in the last century. They were carried to Barcelona by mule train. The Twin Towers look as though they've just arrived on vacation from Venice, but they're part of a monumental complex, also designed for the 1929 trade fair. At the Pueblo Español, you can tour the whole of Spain in an afternoon. A popular family outing, the Pueblo is Spain in miniature, an Iberian Lilliput, where some of the country's most famous buildings are scaled down to dollhouse size. You can walk from a reproduction of the Plaza Mayor in Madrid, past Santiago Cathedral and into Old Seville, all in one lick of an ice cream and with non-stop entertainment at every corner. Being Spain, there's always a bar to drop into. Only this one makes the bottles and glasses as well. For years, Barcelona turned its back to the sea, but the 1992 Olympics gave the city a chance to do an about-face. Thanks to a 250-acre clearance scheme, the city now has a 5-mile beach and promenade. Not to mention the 20-foot sculpture of a prawn. Only 300 people were displaced in the process of turning the waterfront into an instant seaside resort. But then, Barcelona has always been ingenious at reinventing itself. It's the ultimate designer city. The Set Portes restaurant was a regular haunt of Pablo Picasso, who lived in this porticoed terrace for 10 years. You might not find a 20-foot prawn in the Set Portes, but you can order just about everything else that swims. Their shellfish paella is said to be the best in town. The Loggia, or stock exchange, has a more unlikely link with Picasso. On the face of it, the Loggia is just another temple of commerce. But in the 19th century, the top floor was an art academy. Picasso and Miro both studied here, while fortunes changed hands downstairs. Barcelona has always looked towards France for its inspiration. Little wonder they called its railway terminus the French Station. It now doubles as a platform for the arts. The urban landscape here slips into the latest fashion in architecture with the ease of a runway model. Plate glass skyscrapers now soar over Gothic, neoclassical, modernist, and the social engineering of the early part of the century. Sometimes the changes are startling. The towers of the industrial park look like Martian invaders about to attack the city. But the Barcelonans take it all in their stride. The shock of the new makes less impact here than almost anywhere else in Europe. But the traffic is something else. It's a matter of 600,000 cars looking for 450,000 parking spaces. The palm-lined diagonal avenue cuts right through the Eixample, the grid system devised by Ildefons Cerda when the medieval walls were demolished in 1860. But there's still no place to park the car. Many of the most daring modernist buildings were built in this area. Rather, too many, claim some critics. On one block, nicknamed the Block of Discord, 3 classic examples compete in an architectural free-for-all. They were built by Gaudi and 2 of his gifted followers, and they clash in a dreamlike cascade of writhing frontages, tortured wrought iron, skull-like balconies, and serpentine roofs. living in them was a challenge. A woman who moved into Gaudi's undulating Casa Milà complained that she couldn't fit her piano into any of the rooms. Take up the violin was Gaudi's advice. The Palace of Catalan Music is an even wilder architectural fantasy. Regarded as the high point of the modernist movement, it was designed to glorify every aspect of Catalan art and culture. A building that speaks, said its creator, Luis Domènech i Montaner. A divine Disney world with Wagnerian overtones, it's the only concert hall in Europe lit by natural light, though some people say the decor distracts them from the music. The palace won the prize for the best new building of 1908. But Domènech i Montaner refused to attend the opening ceremony as a protest because he was still owed money. The Olympics stimulated a boom in hotel building. The King Juan Carlos I is a plate glass pinnacle of high tech. More like something you'd expect to find in Las Vegas, and certainly not the kind of place to make romantic assignations in. But it is spectacular to look at, and perhaps symbolizes Spain's new and rapid rise in prosperity. But the older hotels still have their loyal customers. In the Hotel de España, the monumental fireplace could almost double as the entrance to Gaudi's cathedral. The Hotel Oriente is the most venerable of them all. It was built over a 17th century monastery, and the monks' cloister is now the ballroom. Barcelona battled for 66 years to stage the Olympics, and it cost the city nearly $100 million in rebuilding. The Olympic Village has now become a residential area, complete with the usual open-air sculpture, this time an outsized fish. To design-conscious Barcelonans, of course, everything is sculpture. With the Olympics, Barcelona stepped into the 21st century. The Olympic complex on Montjuic Hill, a permanent legacy to the city. The Olympic Stadium was the only building already there. It was enlarged to hold 70,000 people by digging down another 35 feet. Picasso pops up again in the Four Cats Cafe, whose eccentric owner encouraged the young artist. When I was 14, said Picasso, I could draw like Raphael. The Picasso Museum, set in a 15th century palace, contains 3,000 of his earlier works, so you can judge for yourself. The 75-acre Citadel Park was laid out for the fair of 1888. The waterfall monument to Picasso came later, created by the contemporary sculptor Antonio Tapias. The fairy tale castle started off as a restaurant until transformed into the Zoological Museum. Through a triumphal arch and 2 huge greenhouses, you reach another historic waterfall. Based on the Trevi Fountain in Rome, part of it was designed by Gaudí when he was only a student. But that's enough history. It's time to relax in the park. Like Madrid, Barcelona is a city of night owls. It's one of the few places where you can call a friend at midnight and ask, "What are you doing tonight?" Gloriously floodlit, the modernist facades turn into magical grottos. Rome may be the eternal city, but Barcelona, always alive to what's new and renewing, seems to have discovered the secret of eternal youth.